Welcome to another episode with your chapter crush sweetheart. This is Everblue Presents When You're Enough, a chapter crush sweetheart series. Michelle, Chapter 12. We cannot live only for ourselves. 1,000 fibers connect us. Henry Melville. Bronwyn scowls at me as she sips her water. Don't call me Winnie. Also, I know I'm important, but it's the executive VP of sale. What am I supposed to do? Say, oh, no, I need to get my calories in? Then I'll sound like a whiny baby. And guess what? No one likes a whiny baby. I chuckle as Doriane comes out of the bathroom, rubbing her eyes. And when I hold her hand out, she pads over to me in her blue and white cloud pajamas. Want to lay here with me, darling? Yes, she whispers, her breath minty. I lift her up to give her a kiss and settle her with a blanket against my side. Dropping my arm around her, I gently rub her back as Bronwyn pulls out her phone and turns off the chandelier for a nap. Thanks, I say quietly as my eyes adjust to the much dimmer light of the 2 table lamps. Do you want a story? Doriane yawns again with a nod, so I begin weaving a story as Bronwyn continues eating. I'm not 5 minutes in before I notice Doriane is asleep. Tucking her blanket around her shoulders, I quietly return to the conversation with Bronwyn. It doesn't matter if it's the president of Mars. No one gets to treat you as though you're subhuman. You're worth consideration, and if the CMO can't see that, then either she's in the wrong organization or you are. Bronwyn's head whips towards me, her eyes wide. Wrong organization? She scoffs. First of all, we work at the same company, Michelle. Second of all, I've been working for GPMP for nearly 10 years. I started as an intern in my sophomore year and was hired as an associate analyst right out of college. Impressive, I interject, to which she nods. Thanks. I've put blood, sweat, and tears into this company, not to mention the loss of lunches, sleep, and hair. Who would I look like if I gave up working here? I raise my brows. Maybe an healthier person? When she emits a low growl, I look towards her and realize I'm managing to annoy her again. Aren't you familiar with the fallacy of sunk cost? Yes, but this isn't that. It applies to jobs as well, Bronwyn. You could move on, but you feel you've devoted everything to this company. Yet, what have they devoted to you? Are you in the job you want to be in? Are you earning what you deserve? Does your work matter? When she frowns, I lift a hand, but decide against resting it on her belt shoulder as I continue. Of course, it matters. I'm asking if something happened to you tomorrow. Would GPMP miss a beat, or would it move on with the newest, brightest, shiny toy? Bronwyn stares at me thoughtfully as I reach over to snag an olive, letting its briny juices wake me up. You don't work there to be liked. People don't have to like you, but you do have to be alive to do your job. That won't happen if you keep giving up bodily fluids, air, and sleep, and everything else you sacrifice for them. She sighs. I'm not sure I know how to do that. What? Exist? Take up space? Her brows jump as she says, I'm a minority in more ways than one. I'm a woman. My father is Irish American. My mother is Black American. My sister and I were born firmly in the lower middle class, and I'm relatively young in a fiercely competitive field. My parents worked hard and took advantage of the opportunities available to them just as I did. Hello, she adds with a smile, waving at the apartment around us. Yet, many people don't realize how hard I have to work to get to a break-even point. People take one look at me and assume they know me. They know my story and know my worth, without needing to dig deeper. So despite my experience and credentials, I have to battle to prove I'm allowed to be in the room before I can prove I have what it takes to sit at the table. And with every interaction, every evaluation, every new role, it's the same game all over again. I nod in response because I feel that. I really do. I've been the director of finance here for the last 6 years, and I work my ones and zeros off in that job because, while it's nice, it's not where I wanted to end up. Yet, it's still not enough. It sounds as if, despite your challenges, you have more than paid your dues, Bronwyn. No one gave you your grades, no one handed you your CPA, and no one handed you the promotions that took you from intern to director of finance. What if you change companies? Wouldn't that move the needle? Bronwyn nods as she takes a sip of water. I can leave. I can go somewhere else and maybe start out as another director or even a VP of finance. But this isn't just sunk cost. Yes, I've proved myself here, but to start that process all over again somewhere else when I already start in the hole, I don't know if I have the energy for it. A look of surprise crosses her face as if it's news to her. Slowly nodding, I ask, "So, what's the goal?" Because it sounds as if the way you've been going is the outfight. Do you want to be CFO? Do you want to be president? What's it all for? Bronwyn sighs. I think that's a question I've been asking myself for the last 10 years. Honestly, my mind is blown. Because you're only the second person in my life to validly question my career choice. I don't think I've allowed myself to think about it too deeply. I just carried on, attaining the next big thing to shoot for on the path. She pauses, a frown turning down the corners of her mouth. I want to smooth it away, but I clear my throat instead. To be fair, I hear you're the real brain behind the finance department, despite your boss. Bronwyn wobbles her head from side to side. Brad? He's not a bad guy. He may not have an interest in finance, but her voice trails off as she wrinkles her nose. He was promoted over me at the time, with the idea that I'd be able to get training by working closely with him. Although it's also possible he isn't interested in learning his job. I wonder why he would have to, I mutter. Her lip curls, indicating disgust, but she shrugs. That's how it is. Peering at her through the exhaustion that seems to ink her edges, I ask, who was the other person to validly question your career choice? Eating her hip to sit back on the deep sofa, she draws a foot beneath her, exposing a firm thigh through the slit in her gown. She grimaces as she yanks at the folds of her dress as I realize I know the answer. Your grandmother. She nods, staring down at her folded hands. Yes, she encouraged me to pursue something I love, even if it wasn't music. But I wanted to make my parents happy. I wanted them to be proud of me, and music didn't seem to do that. To them, music was a hobby, and that's all it could be. It's why I majored in accounting and only minored in music. Your grandmother was the only one who wondered what would make you happy, I grimace. Yes, until you wondered, that is, just now. Nodding, I tilt my head. So, ignoring the opinions of other people, those who have never asked what would make you happy, what do you want to do? Do you want to continue being a spreadsheet geek, or do you want to change your career into something musically aligned? Because from what I've seen and heard, music is your passion. Pursing her lips, she shakes her head. I don't know. Well, I guess that's not true either. I love music. It's why those bookshelves are full of books. Many of them are novels, but so many more are sheets of music. Looking at the shelves, they seem to be bursting with books of different colors and sizes. I smile. So you compose as well. I pause, remembering the tune she played earlier. The piece she played after the recital. It's one of yours? Bronwyn shyly dips her chin. I'm not a professional musician. I just like to create music. That seems an understatement after hearing her play. You're an artist. I breathe. Will you play something right now? Mouth dropping open, she shrinks back, panicked. Maybe another time. Amused by her shyness, I shrug. Maybe we can come up with a dining arrangement where you pay for meals with music. I can see the wheels turning behind her eyes as she considers me. You're driving a hard bargain tonight, Michelle. Why, despite not being classically trained, I know what my food is worth. Maybe you should know what your music is worth. I'll get back to you on that. She shifts forward as if to stand, then turns back. What does your family call you at home? Mishu, I say without thinking. Brow slamming down, I look at her expectantly. Why? Ah, Mishu, she says with a wide smile. Maybe it's because I'm overly sentimental this evening, but hearing her say my familiar name has me holding my breath. Well, if I'm going to enter an arrangement like that, I'd like to separate it from the whole work wife, work husband thing we've got going on. It feels weird to do it with a workmate, but if it's my friend, Mishu, well, that I can do. She smiles, sticking her hand out towards me, giving it a firm shake. I'm relieved the conversation didn't take a turn that would be unrecoverable. Withdrawing her hand, she rests an elbow on the back of the sofa and narrows her eyes on me. Now for the details. My brows rise. What details? The music to food ratio. She smirks. I have compositions that took hours to write. That should be worth at least 10, 15 meals easy. Ha! I scoff, barely stopping myself from laughing so that I don't disturb Dorian. And respectfully, how would I know that? You could be writing music in your sleep, or you could be scribbling notes on the bus from the office for all I know. Bronwyn chuckles. Then maybe it should be based on quality. Should I play the music the day before and let you judge what it's worth? Nodding, I thoughtfully run a hand down my beard as I smirk. It's fine for me, but won't you be at a disadvantage? What if I decide it's only worth chicken? Or worse, beans? Bronwyn laughs softly. Hey, I like beans, but I will definitely need to eat more than beans to maintain my stamina. Some of my compositions are 15, 20 minutes long. I release a soft whistle. That's a long time for one piece. Is all of your music in the classical style? Surprise colors her dark eyes as she tilts her head. Depends. Are you a fan of classical music? I release a short laugh, causing Dorian to stir before she settles. I rub her back as I glance at Bronwyn. No. I'm a fan of music with a beat. EDM, house, even Latin music. I think we'll get along just fine then. She smiles. And maybe we should just keep it simple and trade one music piece for every meal. Deal, I nod, hiding a smile. Standing, she turns back to face me. Good. And maybe this exercise will help me figure out if I'm willing to risk upsetting my parents to pursue something different. I shrug. And maybe your parents don't know that you're unhappy. Maybe they would support you if they only knew. She frowns. How could you know that? Holding our gaze, I say, because you try to please others without considering yourself. And it's possible you're trying to please a version of your parents who don't exist anymore. How old were you when you needed to hear their opinion of what would be a good path to take? How old were they? People change, opinions change, but none of it truly matters in the end because you're the one who has to be good with your life. You have no husband or children to consider. So think about it, then decide for yourself. Because you spent 10 years working a job for them, and while you're good at it, you don't want it. And from what I've observed, your musical pursuits could be quite rewarding for you. Bronwyn studies me a moment before she softly asks, "Why do you say that?" I nodded at my sleeping daughter. Because you celebrated with her, not as if it were your win too, but as if you were happy, she was happy. That isn't someone looking for recognition. It's someone who has passion and a love for their subject. Bronwyn's bright brown eyes latch on mine, considering my words, and I can see the moment everything clicks for her. When my phone vibrates against my leg, I release a breath and answer the phone. Good evening? Just where is the fire? What's the problem? Yvette's voice comes over the phone. Give me one moment. I grumble. Putting the phone on mute, I look up at Bronwyn apologetically. Yvette has finally called back. I'm going to... No, go. Take it. I can set the bed up for Dorian and put her down. With a nod, I lift Dorian and rest her on the living room sofa. She doesn't even stir. Returning to find Bronwyn already stacking the cushions, I smile. Thank you for the whole evening. I enjoyed the performance and Dorian had the most fun she's had in a long time. She smiles in response. Happy to help. Now, take your call. With one last nod, I unmute the phone as I leave the music room for mine. Yvette, just what is going on? I couldn't reach you.